Okay, here we are for week 3 of Watto'S wrap. He's still with us. He's not scarred too much just yet. And he's fresh from a commentary stint last night, which saw his beloved CSK clinically dispatched of the Sunrisers Hyderabad. And yet he's got up in the morning. He's here to talk to us. Watto, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, what a great way to start the day, really, after getting up pretty late, after commentating. Yeah, what a treat.
Sincerity, it's a plus. Let's start with the most important thing, Watto. So international media, we've noticed here, it's increasingly focusing on the devastation of COVID in India, and it seems rightly so. Big spotlight on the IPL, and potentially its ethical responsibilities. Amid what many are calling a humanitarian disaster. So just a couple of things. I noted Adam Gilchrist last week sort of gently asked his Twitter followers whether it was inappropriate to continue or whether it was an important distraction. We've seen Pat Cummins donating money, Brett Lee saying with a Bitcoin. Like, what responsibilities do you think the IPL and the cricket community have to India and Indians as a result of this developing crisis?
Yeah, it's absolutely tragic what's going on in India at the moment. With so many friends great friends that I've had for such a long period of time, to hear what they're going through right now. And it's just so broadly across the country. It's all a part of the cricket community really coming together to be able to help as many people and help the community as possible. Because India, in general, the Indian people have supported all cricket, not just in India, but all around the world, and cricketers with their incredible love and passion for the game of cricket. So it's time for the cricket community to come together. And one way I believe is providing a bit of joy every night. I know people keep mentioning it, but it certainly does. Like, there's no doubt if people are stuck at home because they're isolating, they're doing everything they can to be able to try and get on top of this devastation with the COVID-19. But there's no doubt that the cricket is something that's always brought Indian people together across so many, all different classes, all different religions and languages and everything. Cricket is the thing that does unite the country. And this would be a way, after the heartache and everything that's going on, minute by minute throughout every day at the moment, cricket would be a welcome distraction. So, and that's going to the part of the donations that people or cricketers are making. Some people are doing in different ways, whether it's publicly or behind the scenes. And everyone's really doing their bit to be able to help out, because it's tragic what's going on, and so many people who I know incredibly well are being so badly affected, and it's incredibly sad.
Have you had many people sort of outline that idea that it might feel a bit incongruous for such kind of glitzy, well-resourced cricket or cricket entertainment being played while such devastation is happening just outside the door? I mean, how does that jive with you ethically?
Oh, look, obviously, yeah, there's two sides to it, of course. Like, you just can't imagine what people are going through at the moment. You just can't imagine it. There's no doubt that the IPL and the cricketers in general are incredibly conscious of that discrepancy between cricket going on and also the devastation that's going on. But again, cricket's always been the thing that's united India, and it has been. That's one thing that stands out to me, is just how it crosses across every walk of life in India. So I do feel it is a way for people to sort of just still feel like they're connected to the community, even though there is just carnage going on. It's absolutely tragic.
We're obviously trying to bring some entertainment here as well, but the cricketers in the past week since we last spoke, Watto, have done that as best they can, and probably the highlight of the last 7 days was Jadeja's innings against CSK. That was unbelievable. I actually noticed that Crick Info on the back of that have been running a series where they've sort of gone through the top 10 moments of the IPL, the individual performance of the IPL. Number 5, I'm sure you're across already, Shane Watson, 2008, winding back the clock for Rajasthan, 52 not, and a little 3 for 10. Would you say that it's actually better than Jadeja's performance?
No, I didn't get 37 off and over.
Not on air.
And a direct hit run out as well. Jeez. Yeah. Gosh, Jadeja hasn't he just exploded as a cricketer? I think his batting was always okay, it was like you could, like I bowled to him a lot and against him a lot, especially the back end of a game. And I always felt like I could get out of his hitting zone and I could shut him down. Whereas now he's getting in incredible positions. He's not he was a bit sort of leg side of the ball. It seemed like he was a bit gun shy, even though he's not, but it seemed like just the way he was setting up to sort of give himself room. Whereas now he's stepping into the line and goodness me, it's crazy how good he is now. The last season in Dubai, it wasn't just a one-off tournament where he was able to explode like he has now. Gosh, it's absolutely incredible. And then you see the wicket with a little bit of, if it's got a little bit of assistance, then he's as good as any bowler on the planet when he's doing that. So, but thanks for bringing that. I just saw that the other day on Cricket Info. So it's nice that people resurface a couple of things to make you feel pretty good about yourself.
No, I saw the notes you sent through before the show, and I just brought that up straight away. Now, can you actually take us back to 2008 though? Because Shane Warne was captain, which feels like an eternity when Warney was playing. Was that the first year of the IPL 2008? Was that right?
Yeah.
Can you take us back to that moment? Because I don't think you were even in the Australian side at that time, were you?
Not at that time, no. I'd had my injury issues over that sort of the previous couple of years. So that was the time where the Australian sort of setup had got frustrated with my injuries. And there was a test tour to West Indies at that time. So most of the guys, just about all the guys, played the first 2 weeks of that first IPL, and then they all had to go home for a camp in the lead up to then going to the test series in the West Indies. Whereas because I wasn't in the test squad or the one-day squad at that time, I was able to just play the IPL all the way through. And that for me was just an opportunity to, while I wasn't playing international cricket, to play a world-class tournament. That was also a perfect storm. I'd worked really hard the previous 18 months to get my body to a stage that could handle, just be more resilient, so I could get through games a lot more. And T20 cricket was perfectly built for that, for my body at that stage as well. So, yeah, that was an amazing time. There's no question. Warney leading the Rajasthan Royals, as a leader, he was just incredible. He was at his absolute prime as a leader, especially. His bowling was still amazingly good at that stage. He'd only been out of international cricket for about a year or so he's still bowling crazily well. I had a couple of good performances. Again, it was just a perfect storm. My skills had developed to a stage. The IPL came along. My body was resilient enough, and I was able to play the whole IPL all the way through. So, yeah, that was a special time. It seems a long time ago now.
Yeah. Just speaking in a historical context, Watto, so overnight David Warner's hit 57 off 55, and he's, in doing so, become the first player to score 50 IPL 50s. You think that's good? It's not. CricViz said, this is the 15th lowest impact rating for any of the 9,274 T20 innings in our database in which the batsman scored over 50 runs. Or in other words, it's a 50 that lost Sunrisers the game. How many times have you hit a 50 or 100 and thought my innings just lost us the game? And have you ever thought I'm better off getting out?
I have a couple of times for sure. When you're trying your best and you're trying to get away, but you just can't find your rhythm. You feel like you just can't line up anyone. Your good shots are going to the fielders. There's certain times where you feel super responsible. Like you are trying your best. And it's like, I'm actually trying to get out here because I'm actually holding up the team and holding up the batting lineup. And Dave, looking then, Dave last night, he was trying to be able to get away, to take on the bowlers, but he was just mishitting balls. The balls that he nailed would go to the fielders. So, I read the press conference after the game that he put his hand up and said, I'm totally responsible for slowing down, especially that middle period. So, but there's no doubt Dave will turn around. It's just, you could see there's one little technical thing that was slightly off last night, which just meant he was mishitting balls he'd normally crunch. So he'll turn around. He's so good. But yeah, people are harsh. Like he was trying. He wasn't just blocking him. It wasn't like he was in there just rotating the strike. He was going hard, but he was just missing the ball. So it's easy for people to say that from afar.
Oh yeah, and look, I don't mean to sledge him either. I think it's actually just funny to think that you can score a 50 and be like, I've lost us the game, or like, I'm really trying to get out. Unfortunately, I've scored 50.
I couldn't get out.
How many people would just love to buy runs and they just couldn't? Yeah. Hey, what's the little technical flaw? Would you share that on air? To get into real X's and O's.
Oh yeah. For me, it was just normally he's got a lower sort of base in his stance, and when he's swinging his bat, and he seemed like he was really sort of high, so he's losing his power with his legs and with his sort of swing. So like there's times where you feel when you're a bit too high, you feel like you're on top of the ball. So it's hard to be able to get power under the ball to sort of elevate it, especially in T20 cricket. So you could, for me, it just was obvious that he was just a bit too high. He's a powerful guy. He's got strong legs and he uses his legs to be able to power the ball up, and elevate it. So that for me was something that's pretty simple for him to change and adjust. And then I think straight away he'll just get that power and elevation straight away without even trying.
Well, David, if you are watching, just get it a bit lower in the stands, brother. All good.
Simple.
I can honestly say that I've never not been able to get out in the game.
Yeah, that's right.
I've never experienced
shoot.
Yeah, I've never been able to knock it out. Well, look at Sunrisers' team, and maybe naively, I sort of focus on the overseas players. And Sunrisers have got as good as anyone. They've got obviously Dave as captain, and they've got Kane Williamson who's doing well now. He's back into the team. They've got Johnny Bairstow. They've got Rashid Khan. The spin options covered, but perhaps the domestic players, and we've seen the domestic players start this tournament so well. You look at all the wicket takers so far; they're all Indian. They're all Indian players, So I wonder, how do the Sunrisers turn it around? 6 games, 1 win. Trevor Bayless coach as well, good, World Cup winning coach recently. I mean, what is going wrong at Sunrisers?
Yeah, Sunrisers. Gosh, there's a couple of key people that they're really missing right now, and those couple of key people have been crucial. They're glued to them, like bringing all their resources they've got together, and that's one. The first one's Bhuvanesh Kumar. Yeah. He's hardly missed a game for the Sunrisers in the last, since I can remember, the last sort of 5 or 6 years. The brand new ball, he swings them both ways at good speed. He's very skillful at the death as well. His execution of his Yorkers in particular is normally bang on. So he's a huge missing link because they've never had express bowlers in their team, but they've had skillful bowlers, and Bhuvanesh Kumar certainly has been one of those. And then they're missing some, like 1 or 2 power hitters through their middle order and the lower order. They've always had one or 2 guys who sort of come in. Mitch Marsh, I think, is a big loss for them, for sure, because of his all-round capabilities, but also his power hitting. So they've just they're so reliant on, as you said, their top 3, the overseas, and when there's a lot of pressure on the top 3 overseas players, they might, in the back of their mind, start thinking, well, if I get out, then we haven't got much with the rest of our batting. So they might just rein it in a little bit when normally they'd sort of just, play with full freedom. So I think it's going to be hard for Sunrise to turn it around, unfortunately, because, obviously they've had so much success and there's so many great people in there and a lot of great Aussie people as well. But I can't see him really turning it around. They're going to have to find that India. The Indian local players are so important. Yeah. Even if your overseas players are fine, you need, I'd say, 3 to sort of 5 your overseas, your Indian players sort of flying. Otherwise, it makes it really challenging, and opposition really does expose those weaknesses. Yeah.
And maybe one area they're struggling with, Watto, is off the field, and I only say that because we see the CSK juggernaut rolling on, dispatching the Sunrisers clinically overnight. And the great MS Dhoni recently attributed the change in fortunes of CSK to everyone giving an extra 10%. Now, I can only imagine that means 10% off the field. And I'm wondering what that actually looks like off the field. You've been in there. We were talking to Dan Christian off air last night. I don't think you mind us saying, but he was talking about some of the fun, like some of the activities they do. Him and Kyle were saying, and I'm just saying this a bit, like one thing they did was they had to actually perform Little Red Riding Hood and before dinner, before any beers. So I'm just wondering, with players from all over the world, like different cultures, different ways of relaxing, having fun, team bonding, what are some of the best or even bizarre activities you've been part of inside the IPL?
Yeah, CSK, just touching on CSK, they've always found a great way to sort of bring everyone and feel connected into the group. That's the one thing that stood out to me, that just as soon as I came into CSK, they know how to do it really well without forcing it. Like, it's not like Stephen Fleming's out there like doing all these different sort of exercise and activities to bring everyone together. It's just sort of how the environment is sort of built, which is rare. But I had some experiences with Rajasthan in particular, because our coach at that time, Paddy Upton, who's very sort of a lateral thinker when it comes to sort of bringing groups of people together and different cultures together. So, yeah, one time that really stood out, well, 2 times. One was like a karaoke night. where Brad Hodge, who was playing for Rajasthan Royals at that stage.
This would be good.
He absolutely nailed. I can't remember the exact song, but he nailed like the Indian accented version of the song, and it was absolutely brilliant. Hodge's a very dry, funny guy.
We know.
And it was unexpected, and he absolutely nailed it. So that was one time. But another example was around, our team would lost 3 players through sort of match fixing. I forget what year it is, 2012 or something like that, when 3 players got ripped out of our hotel overnight. Anyway, that's another story. But to be able to bring the group together, because there's a bit of carnage. There's a bit of carnage going around the group, people sort of looking over their shoulders a little bit. And Paddy Upton sort of got people to sort of film a movie. So there was 3 or 4 people in each group, and you had to sort of film your own movie. And some of the stuff that happened there was a little bit,
All right.
It couldn't surface. It couldn't surface.
Okay. All right.
Especially from my perspective, some of the things we're able to do is a bit crazy.
Righto. Well,
I won't be sending that through to you guys.
no.
Well, if you got it.
Our professional integrity kind of compels us to follow up that. What sort of movies that you can't talk about?
Jadeja played well.
Jadeja's a good player.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Hey, Watto, just on CSK, Faf has now got the orange cap. It's the orange cap for leading run scorer now. More runs overnight. He's actually getting that fitted as we speak. But like I was looking at the top 10 run scorers in the competition. There's 5 overseas, 5 Indian players. But then look at the bowling, and it's just Chris Morris is the only overseas in the top 10 wicket takers. And I find that interesting. And then I was sort of thinking about like the struggles that maybe like Pat Cummins has gone for big money. Pat Cummins has done okay. He's done okay.
Yeah. 7 wickets, 6 games.
Yeah, he's done okay, but it has been expensive at time. He went for 58 in one game the other day. Other overseas players have done it as well. Rabada's doing okay for Delhi, but he's not setting the world alight, you know. So I just wonder what that is, that like maybe the overseas bowlers don't thrive as much as what overseas batters can do in the IPL. Yeah,
the wickets that they're playing on at this point in time in India, they definitely more sort of batter friendly, especially Mumbai in particular. That's a beautiful place to be able to bat on. Like for me, the biggest thing with the overseas bowlers is most of those guys that you're talking about have got speed. So which means that because the wickets are a little bit slower, they can't just sort of come in and try and destroy a batting lineup with their raw speed. And the biggest thing for the overseas bowlers when they've done well, it's more so, one, their variations, they've bowled well, as in their changes of pace. But then when they are in trouble during an over, they're able to execute, especially their Yorkers. And that's the one thing that, like the younger guys like Joe Richardson and Riley Meredith, under pressure, they don't really execute their Yorkers that well, so they can't get themselves out of trouble when a batsman starts getting them in the start of their over. And Paddy Cummins, it seems like right now, his defensive balls, he's just not executing exactly right. So, and when there's a bit of extra speed, the ball flies. It goes like it really does travel. So, and that's where the overseas batsmen are really capitalising on that. And just going back to what you said about Faf, Faf is he's always incredibly well presented. Even his orange cap will be tailored, I think, which is what I love about him. He's always immaculately presented. He takes such pride in it. And but for him to do so well, like he was never known as a T20 cricketer, really. The last couple of years, he's just evolved his game into being, such a brilliant top order or opening batsman in T20 cricket. And look what he's doing for CSK. It's amazing to see how people can transform themselves into certain players when they spend the time to really engage all their different skills.
Yeah, and just on that, this isn't just the IPL. This is all T20 batting. I noticed, but all the top 10, I think every single one of them, bar Maxwell, is an opener. So like all the leading run scorers, it seems the easiest time to bat, filled up, hardness of the ball, that sort of thing. You obviously open the batting to great effect in all white ball cricket, international and IPL. So, I mean, like, how hard is it for a guy like, I don't know, just an Australian lens like Stoinis, for instance, coming in at 4 or 5, or actually AB de Villiers is the only other guy who's in the top 10, but he's obviously a worldie.
He's not human.
He's not human, exactly, yeah. So, I mean, like, how hard is it to come in 8th over, softening ball, field restrictions, and just go at, 150?
Oh, it's very hard. And Opening and batting in India in particular, the ball doesn't normally swing that much. It might 1 or 2 overs and the ball's not swinging, so you can really feel like you can line up the bowls, and especially if the spinners if they come on and the ball's not turning that much, you can really get away. So there's no secrets why the top run scorers are normally opening batsmen, but it is the guys who are able to come through in the middle overs and dominate. I think they are the most valuable batsmen in any team. Like Glenn Maxwell, like he's been able to do this season, that is just gold dust what he's able to do. Come in, take on when the field's back, 5 people out, the spinners are on, and strike at like 150 strike rate. AB de Villiers, like as you said, it's superhuman what he's able to do. Like that's not normally what people can do.
No,
is come in
under
in those situations consistently and just explode like he does. And for Marcus Stoinis, that's why last year when he came in like around about number 6 for Delhi and did incredibly well, that's why it stood out even more, because it's so hard to do, and especially for overseas players. It's an incredible skill. So if you've got someone who's able to do that, gosh, they're so valuable to a franchise and in the IPL, and they'll get paid. They'll continue to get paid big money if they're able to do it. So like Chris Morris has been able to do as well. He's got that skill to be able to come in and smack him at the end, and it's incredibly valuable.
You obviously have such deep understanding of T20 cricket, Watto, and just to level with you on that point, I think I'll speak for you as well, and I know you don't like that, but always intellectually understood the IPL to be the foremost best tournament for T20 cricket by a long way. But I've been part of a culture in Australia that tends to focus my sporting interest on the national team and that only. So this is the first time I think we've really immersed ourselves in the tournament. And, one of the observations and, tough observations is that when it comes to T20 cricket, Australia has a couple of very good T20 players and then some pretty serviceable players after that, especially, after your retirement as well. We know India's a powerhouse, will dominate for the next century at least. But how would you assess Australia's T20 program, and how does it compare to the rest of world cricket?
We've always been massive underachievers with the Australian T20 team. It's shattering really, because we have at times had some of the best T20 players in the world. But right now, we've always, in the last sort of probably 5 or 6 years, we're incredibly top heavy from a batting perspective. We've always had world-class opening batsmen, and probably even 4 or 5 of them who could do an amazing job. But we haven't had that middle order power that we've been talking about with Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis. So if we're able to bring those guys in and create an environment where they can get the best out of themselves as well, allow them to sort of show their skills, then that will mean that Australia more chance of having some success in a T20 World Cup, for example. But then again, our bowlers, when we've done well, it's mainly just been raw speed. We have never really had a number of really highly skilled T20 bowlers as well. It's normally just been raw speed. We've sort of been able to get away with in a way. So for me, it has always been very disappointing that we've never been able to really dominate with the quality of players that we've had. There's always been a few sort of selection issues at times, just around not taking it that seriously at times and picking the wrong people just for the sake of it, whether it fits into schedules or not. So there's been a lot of issues that I think that we just haven't got right, and it's just sort of continued to flow on. It's been very cyclical around. We just never been able to really get it right. So I think there needs to be a reset with Australian, with the Aussie T20 team, just to be able to make it a priority, especially when there's 2 T20 World Cups back to back. They need to get it right, because we've got the skills, we've got the caliber of players to be able to win a T20 World Cup, but we just haven't put it together, and we need to, because we should be able to be right at the top, but just we haven't. We've always had made excuses a reason why we haven't done well, so we need to get it right.
Focusing on the positive with that, are there any players who should be in roles that, to your mind, that has not been explored when it comes to the Australian T20 side? Is there somebody that you would like to see more involved, or anyone in the side who you would like to see play a different role that might help balance out that team?
Yeah, well, there's one guy that I was always very strong that should have been playing was Fawad Ahmed. He was one of the best. He was the best. Probably him and Adam Zampa were the best spinners in the Big Bash for a number of years, and we never brought him in. He's a wicket taker. He's also, when he's bowling well, he also keeps the runs down, which is the ultimate T20 bowler, who can take wickets and get the best players out, but then also when they're bowling well, not go for many runs. But we just never engage someone like him. Adam Zampa, which I love, he's a high quality leg spinner, but I wouldn't say he's a wicket taker. He knows how to like shut batsmen down and get out of batsmen's hitting zone, which is incredibly important. But he's not someone who's going to like rip a wrong 'un or a leg spinner and just knock a world class batsman over. Mm-hmm. So I think we missed the boat with Fawad Ahmed in the past. So he's someone that I would have loved to have seen come in, because wicket takers in T20 cricket, they don't really come along that often. You need to capitalise on that, especially a spinner through the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Watto, it's been another fantastic week traversing serious issues and films that you don't want to talk more about. But in the same way that you've twice in a week now, twice in a row, talked about fast presentation, we'll now be talking about that movie next week. So, just trying to dig a little bit deeper on what that was. And he's still around. Thanks so much, mate. We'll catch you next week if there aren't too many scars.
Yeah, still not. So you got to maybe try a little bit harder.
Okay. Oh, Jesus.
All right. Good on you, boys.